About 3.5 years ago, Dead by Daylight announced Resident Evil as Chapter 20, aka the 5th anniversary. A year later, they announced they'd be doing Resident Evil again for Chapter 25, Project W, and to this day, it's the only license to ever have 2 separate chapters. Due to this, as well as legendary skins, there are more Resident Evil characters in Dead by Daylight than any other license, and by a wide margin. The license with the second most is Silent Hill, having 6 characters with Cheryl Mason, her 4 legendary skins, and Pyramid Head. Meanwhile, Resident Evil doubles that with 12 different characters. Even with this in mind though, could Behavior still add more characters from the franchise? If yes, then who could they add? Just how many could they add? And more importantly, will they actually add any more characters? Today, I'd like to tackle all of those questions and more. But real quick before I do so, I'd just like to cover all of my bases by listing all 12 Resident Evil characters present in Dead by Daylight, also in case anyone forgot. If you already know though, feel free to skip to this timestamp. The first Resident Evil chapter added Jill Valentine and Leon Kennedy as survivors, with Nemesis as the killer. A little over a year later, Project W saw the additions of Ada Wong and Rebecca Chambers as survivors, with Albert Wesker as the killer. And from the franchise's introduction into DBD until now, we have received 6 legendary skins. Jill has skins for Claire Redfield and Shiva Alomar, whereas Leon has skins for Chris Redfield and Carlos Oliveira. Meanwhile, for killers, the Blight has a skin for William Birkin and the Legion has a skin for Hunk. 6 fully fledged characters, and 6 legendary skins, 12 in total. With that out of the way though, let's get right to the actual video. First, could Dead by Daylight still add more Resident Evil characters? I mean, they've already added 12, so are there really still characters left? To put it simply, yes, and there's no shortage of them. While this might be surprising at first, keep in mind that Resident Evil has 8 main games. This ignores titles like Resident Evil 0, Resident Evil Revelations 1 and 2, and a whole lot of DLCs. I mean, this franchise has been going strong for nearly 30 years, so it should come as no surprise there's a whole lot of noteworthy characters. The 12 currently in Dead by Daylight include none of the new characters from Resident Evil 7 and 8 either, which I will cover more in depth in a moment. Long story short, there are absolutely more characters they could add to the game, and there's quite a lot to choose from. Next, which Resident Evil characters could Behavior feasibly add to Dead by Daylight, and just how many are there? Well, after brainstorming for a bit, I came up with exactly 10 characters they could still add to the game. And keep in mind I've only played 4 of the games myself, so I could very easily be missing some great candidates. But I digress. Initially, I came up with ideas for 2 more Resident Evil chapters as well as 7 legendary skins, but after thinking on it some more as well as discussing it with a friend, the best route for adding more RE content is probably to just do more cosmetics for a number of reasons. First, even though I'm a pretty big fan of Resident Evil now, it getting a 3rd chapter before any other license even got a 2nd would be a little unfair, let alone a 4th. Second, the 2 characters I wanted to propose as fully fledged killers, Mr. X and Jack Baker, don't really have any clear powers. And I wanted Ethan Winters to come in as a survivor along with Jack Baker, but I'd be perfectly fine with him being a Leon skin. Though then I'd be tempted to P100 Leon, so mixed feelings on that. Back to the 2 killers though, I think Mr. X could work well enough as a skin for Nemesis and Jack Baker as a skin for Hillbilly. For the former, even though Mr. X doesn't have a tentacle like Nemesis, both are classified as tyrants and both are commonly seen with zombies. For the latter, Jack wields a chainsaw for one of his boss fights, and furthermore I'd argue it's one of his most iconic moments. A potential issue though is how his chainsaw is a little unconventional. Now, I'd like to talk about the 7 legendary skins I initially came up with. First, survivor skins for Zoe Baker and Mia Winters, both protagonists from Resident Evil 7. As far as who they're for doesn't really matter, though I'd imagine Behavior would want to add one of them as a skin for Jill and the other for Rebecca or Ada so they could get more sales for chapters 20 and 25. Next, I came up with 5 ideas for legendary killer skins, all of which being antagonists from Resident Evil 8, and all but one having their own boss fight. First, a Heisenberg skin for Deathslinger. While I could definitely see him becoming his own killer, I think Deathslinger's overall aesthetic and power fits Heisenberg well enough. Second, a Mother Miranda skin for Artist. Her power is pretty much just focused on crows, and black feathers are a heavy part of Miranda's design and moveset, so close enough. Third, a Moreau skin for Plague. I mean, they both throw up a lot. In all seriousness though, I do think it'd work at least fairly well, though Plague's red vomit doesn't really have any tie-in with Moreau. However, since we have stuff like the Looksee skin for Doctor, legendary skins don't necessarily have to be one-to-one matches. Fourth, a Donna Beneviento skin for Twins. I'm not too sure about this one, but I think having Angie, Donna's doll, as a replacement for Victor could be pretty cool. It might be a bit hard to pull off though, and Donna herself is never seen engaging in combat of any kind. Last but certainly not least, a baby skin for Dredge. Although this thing doesn't have a boss fight or anything, I think most if not all people who have played Resident Evil 8 will agree that the baby is by far the scariest part of the game. They certainly have to take some creative liberties in the skin's design, and I'm also not sure just how great of a skin idea this is, but it could end up being pretty cool. And with that, I've given all of my ideas for how 10 more Resident Evil characters could enter Dead by Daylight, but I'm still not done. Even though all of this could work, just how likely is it that Behavior and Capcom will actually do it? I know this isn't a super satisfying conclusion or anything, but honestly, I have no idea. On one hand, DBD hit its peak player count on Steam with the release of the first Resident Evil chapter, so the collab was wildly successful. But on the other, we haven't seen any new RE content in this game since about January of 2023, a few months off of 2 whole years ago. While nothing is publicly known, this could be the result of a sort of falling out between Capcom and Behavior, making any future content incredibly unlikely. Again though, that's purely speculation. They could still be on incredible terms, and just didn't agree on any new content for a while. There's also the chance that, since we've gotten so much RE content in this game, Behavior just doesn't want to add anymore. But while I don't think it's very likely at all, there is the License Killer paragraph coming up for Chapter 35. And while there are some theories and rumors floating around, we technically don't know what it is. I know there is the rumor concerning the Grudge, which does look fairly likely from what I've seen, but it hasn't been confirmed. All in all, while there's plenty of Resident Evil characters to still be added to Dead by Daylight, it's really a coin toss in my eyes as to whether we actually get anything. We could never even see another skin enter the game, and simultaneously, it could just be right around the corner. Sorry to interrupt the flow of this video and everything, but while editing and pretty much just about to wrap up the video, I realized I forgot to mention something pretty important, so I just wanted to put that in here just in case. So about like 2 days ago, Dweet, who is like a reliable DBD leaker and just overall information giver. Huge shout out to them, by the way. I'll put the link of their Twitter at the top of the description. But basically, they're saying that there's some announcements with Dead by Daylight that will be announced soon that Japanese fans in particular will be excited about. And I was thinking, because I was making this video, that Resident Evil, Capcom, all of that is based in Japan. So while I don't think it's incredibly likely, and you see I made a reply here, I think it is probably like The Grudge or just something in that realm. I don't think it's Resident Evil, but just in case it is, I wanted to put that here. I wanted to cover all my bases. Either way though, I hope you enjoy the rest of the video. And by the rest of the video, I mean just the outro, but it technically is part of the video, so whatever, just here's the outro. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like and subscribe as it helps me out a lot and it only takes a few seconds. It'll help push this video to more people, as well as let me know to keep making videos like these. If you have anything to say about the video, the theory itself, or you just want to say hi, feel free to leave a comment and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. I respond to pretty much all of them. And if you really want to show your support, consider becoming a channel member. For just $3 a month, you get a bunch of perks. In fact, you could have seen this video early if you remember. On that note, huge shout out to Stannis Swag and Mario Blue, currently my only 2 channel members. Real quick before I end the video though, I know this is still technically a Dead by Daylight theory, but it's at least decently different from my usual content in a few ways, so I'd really appreciate any and all criticism I can get, even if it's negative. But regardless, I hope you all have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you in the next one.